Hello everyone and welcome to Creatively Claire. Today I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite brush pens, the ways that I like to use them, and also I'll be sharing a few tips and tricks for those of you who are beginners with brush pens. Let's get started with the video. So the first brush pens I bought were the Tombow Fudenosuke hard tip and soft tip, a pack off of Amazon for around $4. I actually lost my soft tip, or I can't find it today, so this is the hard tip pen. And I don't like it as well as the soft tip, and I wish I could show you the difference, but unfortunately I cannot find my soft tip pen today. So, I've been using these for about a year, and recently I found a lettering practice worksheet on Tombow's website for these particular pens, and they've really been helpful. So I will put a link in the description so you guys can download those. They're free if you're interested. And recently I bought the dual brush pens from Tombow, and I like them a lot as well, and I'll be talking about them a little bit later. But right now I'm going to show you guys some of the different ways I can use these with my calligraphy. So before I show you some of my favorite styles of lettering that I do with this pen, I'm just going to kind of give you an introduction on how to use it. So first you just have to practice, because it can be hard to get the hang of it, because pressure is everything. So when you push down harder, it makes a thick stroke, and then when you come up, it makes or push down lightly, it makes a thin stroke. And so the rule for lettering is always push down on down strokes and make thicker down strokes. Okay, that's really sloppy, but okay, so as you can see, it can be tricky to get the hang of it, and I definitely do not like this one as much as the soft tip, but they both come in the same package and they both can be used just as effectually once you get the hang of them. So if you download the practice worksheet, this is the first page, and it just helps you get used to using and maneuvering the pen with downstrokes and upstrokes. Upstrokes are always the hardest for me, because it's hard to keep them from getting shaky, or, you know, just like moving quickly helps them to be more consistent, I found. Instead of going slow and taking your time and making, you know, sometimes they can get a little shaky. So, then the next step after that is getting angles, like putting them both together. Up thin, down thick, up thin, down thick. And always take your time. Hand lettering is not about writing really fast like cursive. So just try to make it so defined that you can really tell where the thin upstroke stops and the thick downstroke begins. And then you get to start practicing curves. And that's always the hardest, because it's hard to transition. You gotta really release the pressure when you start coming up out of the curve. Because it's easy to see how to continue it like this and not make it a very contrasted difference. So as soon as you start to come down, you should thicken it, and as soon as you start to come up, you should make it thinner. And so just a lot of practice makes perfect. As you can see, this page, I was not doing very good at that. They're not very defined. So, and then O's, or circles, are hard as well, and it takes a lot of time to perfect getting the transition right. It's good to practice with these pens because the dual brush pens are a lot bigger and thicker, and they are harder to maneuver. So that's my introduction to these pens, and now I'll show you some of my favorite styles that I use these for. So before I talk about these styles, I'm just going to say a couple things about paper. So brush pens, you don't want their precise tip to start splitting or getting frayed. And so the smoother your paper, the longer your pens will last. So I actually found some premium quality printer paper that has a very smooth texture on Amazon, and I will be putting a link of that in the description. And so far I've really enjoyed it, and it's just so soft too. So anyway, now on to the styles. So obviously script is the most common for brush pens, and then I like to use these brush pens also for a sans serif look. Serif refers to like little flourishes on the ends of letters. That's probably not a very professional way of describing it, but so these are serifs. These little flourishes, I suppose. So when sans serif it doesn't have any serif flourishes. So that's why I like this one. But right now I'm turning this into a serif font, if you're wondering. So right now this is not technically sans serif any longer, but as you can see, I still use a thin upstroke and a thicker downstroke. But then here, I just used thick lettering all the way for all the letters. And then obviously you can do it thin and just use it like a normal pen. So yeah, those are the ways I like to use this pen. And of course there are many other styles and ways of using it as well. These are just my favorite. So now let's move on to the Tombow Dual Brush. So I've only had these for about a couple weeks now, but they're already my favorite brush pens. I got them off of Amazon, and I picked the muted palette selection because that's more my style. But they also have a pastel, primary colors, and some other different bright colored palettes. And so, but I'll be showing you these today and why I like them. So let's get started. So it comes with 9 colored and 1 pen for blending. I haven't really had much luck with the blending pen, but I'll try to get on camera and we'll see what happens. Here is the sheet that I use to test out all the colors. You can see them. So we have as you can see, they are so much more responsive. Whereas with the smaller pen, I really have to push down hard to even get a very thick stroke at all. But these, you just barely, it's actually hard to get a good thin upstroke with these. Because when you push down, it's just automatically a very thick downstroke. Also, I forgot to mention, they have little marker tips on the other end that match. So if you want to do like a more thinner font or script, then you can use those. So they're quite handy, and I'll show you the blending and we'll see how it does. I really love the colors in this particular collection of them. So we'll use the burnt orange and the kind of dark yellow to see if it will blend at all. So I'm not really seeing much happening. It seems to just be wearing a spot in my paper and getting color on the tip of the blending brush. So I'm not sure how this is supposed to be used. And there's also a clear marker on the end. So I'm not sure how, we'll try it out on the other marker. I guess I can kind of see, I guess you can use this to make the color kind of bleed a little bit, but it's definitely pretty messy, and it also can wear your paper through. So I'm not super impressed with the blending, but I'm very impressed with the pens themselves, and I will be showing you some of the examples of how I've been using them in the few weeks that I've had. So I've already made a couple birthday cards with these brush pens, and I found that I really love using this metallic paint marker to add embellishments. It's gold, by the way. And so I'll just add a few here to show you how it just adds so much more pop and color to the lettering. I don't know if you can tell, but it's metallic and it shines in the light. So I really like doing that. And here's another, so that's a script font. And here is another font that I've done, kind of like my sans serif that I showed you with my other brush pens. And I'll add some more gold to this as well. I also like giving it just almost like a shadow of the gold. Just make it pop. Let me see if I can get it to show the gold. It's so pretty. So I've really been enjoying them for birthday cards, and actually made a large scale piece that I made a video of. So that'll give you a few more tips on how to get better at using brush pens before I end this video. Probably the biggest tip that I have for you when learning brush pens would be take your time and pick up your pen. So when I first started brush lettering, I thought you just wrote like cursive and you just thin upstrokes, thick downstrokes. But since then, I've learned to pause. So you lift your pen and then you come back down. And then, I mean, you can lift your pen at different points. As you can see, it's hard to control the upstrokes on these pens. But, you can just, it comes naturally after you practice just pausing and thinking about what your next stroke's going to be, and it makes your overall work so much better just because you take more time and just pause and come back down and think about your upstrokes and your downstrokes and how you're going to shape the next letter and everything. So if you just practice a lot and, you know, just look at these and try to copy them, but most of all, try to come up with a style of your own. So just tweak these letters. Like, you don't have to write these the exact same way they are on the worksheet. So I personally do not like this C with the little curly Q on the top. Did not do a good job, but I just don't really like that little curly Q, so I just write my C's without it. And so you can just customize it and come up with your own style. But it's good to have a guideline to work from, to learn the basics, and then you can start changing up lots of different things. So, but I will cover that in another video, and that is all I have for you today as far as brush pens. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. If you have any questions or suggestions, please put them in the comments below. Thank you for watching!